mean to be weird, and how
Yeah.
did Christianity shape that?
It's an acronym, and it stands for Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich, and Democratic. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's highly likely that you are weird. And what's fascinating is Joseph Henrich came up with this. He's an evolutionary biologist at Harvard, and he and his colleagues came up with this acronym to describe the context in which so many psychological tests have been done. And so within universities, the easiest population to do psychological tests on are students, because if you're running a psychological study in a university, then they are the most available survey sample that you can get. And if you just offer them a slice of free pizza, they are there and they will participate in your silly little study. But what therefore happens is that in all these psychological studies that are done around the world, they are almost always done in weird cultures with these Western educated, industrialized, rich and democratic people. And so what so much of psychology has deemed to be the normal human psychology is in fact a very specific, very particular weird psychology. And this has massive implications for what we think of as obvious and natural and just the functioning of a normal working human brain. Turns out to be nothing of the sort. It turns out to be something that has been absolutely shot through with Western assumptions, which, when you press into them, are actually Christian-ish assumptions. So what we think of as natural psychology has actually been built by Christianity in so many ways. And Joseph Henrich, again, not a Christian, but just he writes this book called The Weirdest People in the World, and it's a big fat book about why Western brains are so different. And he is absolutely crystal clear. It's because of Christianity. And in his introduction, he says, some of that is to do with literacy, and sort of Protestants were very hot on getting people literate. And that does shape human brains in lots of different ways. And you can explain some of the effect on Western psychology in terms of literacy. But even when you do that, it's Christianity that's made the difference. But the biggest thing, he says, is actually the marriage and family program that Christianity has sort of brought to the West. And he traces through the ways in which Christian sexual ethics have absolutely shaped Western culture from the ground up. It's made us weird, it's made us prosperous, it's made us very, very different. And I'm just trying to I'm trying to take us out of our culture and show us pre-Christian cultures and help us to think about non-Christian cultures and just say, hey, we're actually weird. And you know why we're weird? Because of Jesus.
Well, that leads to this idea. I want to walk through these piece by piece, because you're right. And as you develop the thought in the book and how this is shaped, I was excited, because you do see these things like, well, let's start off with equality. And you don't even just start off with equality. You actually start talking about how the ancient world saw equality. It was a myth. It really didn't even, it didn't happen at all. Like, how did you write it? You said, you talked about ancient thinking was this belief in ancient inequality. Why is it so important today? What was even the quote you had? It started off, it said, you couldn't imagine if people would even see people as equal. Or you even start off with Lord Sumption in January of 2021. I don't accept that all lives are of equal value. I mean, that gets you right there from the very beginning.
Yeah. And actually, Lord Sumption, in the thing that he was saying, was making perfect sense, but everything erupted around him, because you cannot violate such a transcendent value. You must come across like a heretic, like a blasphemer, and he absolutely was. It was a case of burn the heretic for saying that all lives are not of equal value, because we've just imbibed this sense that obviously no matter your sexuality, no matter your race, no matter your religion, no matter your culture, no matter your class, no matter how much money you got, how much strength you've got, we're all equal, right? And that is taken to be such a commonplace and such an unarguable truth. It's axiomatic in the West that all people are equal. But look in nature, and nature does not teach you that all things are equal. Like, take any two people and assess them by any one measurement, and you will discover that they are different. This one is faster than that one. This one is stronger than that one. One is more economically productive than that one. This one is richer than that one. This one is from a higher socioeconomic class. This one is from a different race. This one is a slave. This one is a master. This one, like, when you look at two people, all you will see is difference, right? In what sense are they equal? Like what is this magical realm in which equality? I've just told you all the ways that they're different. And every ancient thinker, and I talk about Plato and Aristotle, every ancient thinker was just noticing nature. And for an ancient thinker, justice meant enforcing the inequalities that nature has woven into life. Baked into the cosmos are inequalities. Who on earth do you think you are if you want to equalize people? Nature has not presented to you equality. As like, where do you read this, transcendent value from? Where do you get this idea from? The ancient world doesn't teach it. Nature itself doesn't teach it. Who teaches it? Jesus teaches it, right? The Bible teaches it. And so, yeah, and it's a good one for just showing people that they are already believers. I've got a lot of secular friends who just, they think I'm a believer and they're not. And yet you press into a value like that and you recognize just what ardent believers they really are.